and welcome back to Cooking and Kids program. Today I have a very special treat for you. We'll be recreating a centuries-old honey cake recipe. For this honey cake, of course, we're going to need a lot of honey. And I'm using raw honey that I buy from my local beekeeper. You can use regular store-bought honey in your recipe if you don't have a raw honey. So we'll start with preheating a cup of raw honey and a cup of oil. You can use regular oil or olive oil and bring it to a lukewarm temperature on a medium fire. And while oil and honey are warming up, we're going to separate 6 egg yolks. Separate egg whites in a separate dish and set the egg yolks in a larger dish, since we will be using this dish soon to combine honey, oil, and flour. Now the honey is nice and loose, we're going to combine it with egg yolks. Pour it gently. And so this is one of the reasons why we don't want to overheat honey, because we want honey not to combine with egg yolks, not to cook them immediately. So the lukewarm temperature will work out the best. Continue to stir until honey, egg yolks, and oil get combined really well together. This is the desired consistency. Next is adding some lemon zest and lemon juice. Smells heavenly. There's just something about the lemon and pastries. I don't know, what is it? Lemon and vanilla. I mean, how you just can't go wrong with stuff like that when you make pastries. Here goes the lemon juice. I'm going to allow pulp inside, but I won't allow seeds. So juice of 1 lemon. And since I'm recreating this recipe from the memory of how my grandmother used to make it, I'm going to take the freedom to incorporate a little bit more of flavor. I'm just going to put a touch of a nutmeg inside, and maybe about a teaspoon of vanilla. Maybe just a little bit more. It smells like home. To make the dough rise, we're going to add a little bit of baking soda in it. So I would say maybe about a half a teaspoon of baking soda. And then mix it again. Now we're ready to add flour. So I will carefully pre-measure flour as we pour it in. I do remember consistency of this cake, the cake's dough, so I think I will be able to get to the right consistency, but as we go along, I will measure it so that we come out with a very good recipe after all this effort. Combine first 2 cups of flour in really well, and then we're going to slowly add some more. By the way, the creaminess that you have seen in a mixture from before was created by baking soda and lemon. They worked really well together, and combined, they're going to make this dough nice and fluffy. So we started with 2 cups of flour, and I'm going to add a second batch of flour, which is additional 2 cups, and I'm going to combine that slowly in. As you work with this dough, you will find out that it tends to be a bit sticky, but be patient with the right amount of flour and mixing. We're going to get this dough to the point where it will be really well manageable. I think we really got lucky. It looks like as if those 4 cups were just exact measurement. Dough settles and the moisture from the mixture is absorbed by the flour. We will know better how much more flour we need to add. So for now we have 4 cups in here. So we're going to let that rest, and we're going to move on to bread. The only reason I'm baking bread is because the oven will be working anyway. So since I have the oven burning for one thing, we might as well make 2.
I can smell honey in here. This smells amazing.
Okay, I'm just gonna oil these baking pans. And as you see, I'm not using a brush, which if you have brush, go ahead. I somehow find that it's much easier to wash my hand than it is to wash a brush. Step is to add a little bit of flour in each of these baking dishes. Shake it around like this. That's one done. We're gonna pour the excess flour around the dough. And we're gonna get back to dough now because dough is nice and soft. Listen to this beautiful sound, okay? This kind of sound, it's very good on dough and very bad on kids' stomach. If your kid's stomach sounds like this, that means they're sick. But if your dough sounds like this, that means you have a perfect dough. So let's get busy with it. Just as I predicted, now the dough had a chance to sit, it has thickened up a little bit more. So we're gonna transport the dough on a working surface. Time I'm baking sweets, my kids are more than willing to help.
I like baking cookies and pastries or whatever. I just like making sweet stuff.
It is fun, isn't it?
It's my specialty.
It smells amazingly good, doesn't it? All right. I was actually doing an excellent job in folding in this dough. And this is exactly what you need to do. It's not same as a bread dough, so you just need to fold it in nicely. And when she does that, when she finishes, I'm gonna separate them in 4 equal parts, and then we're gonna bake them.
Kids, this is really cool.
You know what's the best thing in life? When after putting an effort for so many years to teach something to children, you reach a moment like I just did with Michaela, when she took the dough and she did just the right thing. And it was really rewarding to see my 10-year-old daughter who knew what to do without my further instructions. She did a great job. We have a really good dough here. We didn't use very much flour beside those 4 cups. She did use just a touch more like this. And now we're gonna separate them into 4 equal parts. Now that we are ready, we're gonna thin out the first one. Dough is really, really, really nice. So this means our cake will be nice too. Here's the first one. All these recipes are recipes from past, at times when not just a fridge were not available, but also ingredients were really simple and wholesome. So this cake is a true history. And here goes the last one. Choose not to make cake out of a dough like this. You can make cookies too. These cookies will be long lasting. And Michaela's helping me with poking the dough so it releases the pressure. Bake them maybe about 10 minutes on 350, right? I said about 10 minutes, but it's actually been more about 13 to 14 minutes. The cakes are ready. Now we're gonna let them cool, and I will continue with the bread baking. Great things happen when you cook. My neighbor Joe just came in the middle of baking cakes, so naturally I can't just let him slide by. I have to get him busy. So he will do the egg whites for us while I work on the cake. Okay, Joe, you ready to
Okay,
start?
I'm ready to go.
Egg whites, and I'll go get some sugar. Okay, go ahead. And I'm talking about the really well whipped egg whites. We're gonna add a little bit over 3/4 cup of sugar. Look great. And I don't know if you remember, if you follow our channel, but Joe and I have made a lemon meringue pie. Joe is an amazing, amazing pastry chef. So baking with him, I'm a little bit nervous. And so for the rest of the recipe, I'll do what Joe says. And Joe says we'll add a little vanilla to our egg whites, okay? So we have 6 egg whites. We have about 2/3 cup of sugar and a touch of vanilla. We're ready to roll. So while I tell you a little bit more about the cake, Joe, would you be kind enough to assemble this for us? All right. A couple more things about this cake. As I was telling earlier, the cake was made for hundreds of years. And this recipe is so old that there's really no recipe. I remember it just by watching my grandma do it. And the beautiful thing about it is that it incorporated a lot of honey in the recipe, which helped preserve this food. So this kind of food was made where people couldn't put their cake in a fridge. So the cake was baked kind of hard. You see this crust, it's a cake. What would you call this? Is it a crust or is it a cake? What is it?
I guess it's a cake.
It's a cake, okay. kind of came
A
out
crusty cake.
crust. And as it sat, it absorbed the moisture from the egg whites and became really, really soft. And I think on the top of that, the honey itself has the property to preserve and invite the moisture in. So the cake actually in a couple of 3 days will turn extremely soft. It will melt in your mouth. True privilege to work with you, Joe. And I'm lucky you stopped by tonight. Really lucky.
I got a freaking glass of wine.
Anytime. You found us at the right time. So again, this is just to prove that cooking is a kind of thing that you want to do with friends and with family. So that's the beauty of cooking. It's not so much the food that you end up eating, it's the food that you end up sharing. Don't you agree?
I would agree.
Yeah, very good. All right.
Especially with great friends.
It is. It's neighbors. It's the best thing. Okay, the last layer. Okay. Finishing layer. This cake looks really rustic, wouldn't you say? I mean, there's no finesse.
No finesse.
No finesse, and that's what's so special
No
about it.
decorating.
No. I think we might throw a little nutmeg on the top of it.
Do you do anything on the side at all?
No, I just want to leave it rugged as it is. We're done. See? I couldn't do this without you.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Good cakes, good pastries, good friendships, and good neighbors.
That's great.
That's what we're all about. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to cooking with you and with Joe again soon. Bye for now. Bye.